What's up, cyberspace, and welcome to Pointing Out Politicians. I am your host, and this is where we point out misinformation given and misstatements made by politicians right in front of your face. Uh, in this episode, what I want to talk about is something that Joe Biden said during the live stream on November 19th, addressing the American people in regards to vaccinations and dealing with some of the things that are going on in America right now pertaining to the V word. Now, the fact that I said that earlier probably will get this video hidden, but for those of you who see it, I'd love to get your input on this and see if maybe we think the same way or if I'm totally off base. But what this is all about, what stuck out to me at this point was when Mr. Biden talks about getting those vaccinations to the American people as needed. At first glance, it might sound like he said the right thing, like it's reasonable and it makes sense. But if you really listen to the words that he used, you can tell that there's something not being said here. And what I mean by that is that there's an intention that we're not being made aware of. And in terms of Mr. Biden, this is a common theme for him. He's constantly asked questions of which he says that he'll reveal the answer at a later time. I call him the surprise guy because that's what he likes to do. He likes to withhold information or his true intentions until he sees fit to let people know what's going on. And typically that's after either a decision has been made or it's too late to do anything about whatever it is that he intends. In other words, the effect has worn off. Your ability to affect the outcome has worn off, or it's not going to affect his campaign or his political stance as much. So he likes to withhold that information. So I thought it was important to go ahead and point out exactly what he said and not leave it open to interpretation. It's just his voice, his words. And then I want you to think about what's really being said here. This is Joe Biden talking about vaccinations. Here we go.
If we don't find a more efficient and effective way to provide 330 million vaccinations.
Okay, it's important right there. That's where the truth is revealed. That's where you can see his future intentions just by listening to what was said. Now, take this follow-on statement. I want you to listen closely to what he says and keep in mind that the population of the United States of America is around 330 million people. Listen closely.
Actually get vaccinations into the arms of 330 million Americans.
Just in case you didn't catch that, I'm going to play it again. Listen closely.
We have to actually get vaccinations into the arms of 330 million Americans.
For those of you who don't understand where I'm coming from and still haven't picked up on it, I'm going to play it one more time. Listen closely.
We have to actually get vaccinations into the arms of 330 million Americans.
Okay. Get vaccinations into the arms of 330 million Americans. In other words, we have to get vaccinations into the arm of every American citizen. Everyone. So my question is, what about the people who don't want a vaccination? What if I don't want a vaccination in my arm? That number just went down by one, right? I'm under the opinion and this is just my opinion, so there's no need to try to block this or cover this up because it's just my opinion. But I'm under the opinion that there are a lot more people out there like me. There are a lot more people out there who don't want a vaccination. Why do I feel this way? I personally don't take a flu shot. I did take a flu shot one time, and it almost killed me. There are a lot of other people out there who don't take flu shots. Why? Because they would rather take their chances, and they would rather allow their body to do what the body does when we allow the body to do what the body does best. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that vaccinations are bad. I'm not saying that there should be no vaccinations. Nobody should be vaccinated. I'm not saying that there's not a real health threat out there. I'm not saying that this disease can't kill someone. I'm not saying any of that. But the point that I'm getting at, what I'm driving at, is that transparency should be the number one thing. Tell me the truth. Don't get up behind a podium and mask what you're really saying. And if you're telling me that you have to get the vaccination into the arms of 330 million Americans, what you're telling me is that you have to get the vaccination into the arms of every American, which tells me further that in your mind, there is no room for choice. That's why he said that number so prominently. He didn't say get vaccine into the arms of every American citizen who wants it. He essentially said get it into the arm of every American citizen. And what really made this stand out to me is that later on he talks about National Guard, speaking with governors, funding for the National Guard. But he always makes these Freudian slips, you know. He says things like dictate, enforce, right? Which lets you know what he's really thinking. But you won't pick up on it unless you listen closely. I just wonder why mainstream media doesn't point things out like that. Let's listen to a little more.
We need to be clear with the American people about what to expect. No false expectations. Let them know what we anticipate.
Okay. We need to be clear with the American people about what we expect. No false expectations. Be clear about what we anticipate. If you notice, the word changed from expect to anticipate. And you could say that, he meant looking at future case, what's going to happen, what we expect to happen, what we anticipate happening. But that's not what I heard. So correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong. Let me know if I'm wrong. But to me, that sounded like another one of those Freudian slips. And what he expects is that everyone to be vaccinated. Not anticipating the need for everyone to be vaccinated, but this is what I expect, almost in a dictatorial sense. Later on, he uses that word. We want to be able to dictate. I'm going to have to make another video on that because I got to break that down too, where he talks about wanting to be able to dictate what businesses do. It's completely un-American what he's talking about. And they operate under the guise of an emergency. This is an emergency situation. So we need to take control of everything. But see, because American people won't do the right thing or do what's necessary without us dictating that. This is the type of rhetoric that's being flung around haphazardly. And everybody seems to be accepting that as if that's okay. It's never okay. As an American citizen, our rights and freedoms come first, above and beyond everything else. It is above that. If you're afraid, I get it. But your fear does not trump my freedom. Let's listen to some more.
They all acknowledge that this is going to take a massive public education campaign.
Stop right there. You can call me paranoid if you want to, but that sounds an awful lot like somebody that was around during World War II over in Europe. Except their education, they like to call it re-education. But in other words, we're going to have to get people to understand that this is the way it has to be. We're going to educate them on that. If you think I'm a little off base, let's listen some more.
And fourthly, we discussed the implementation of a national mask mandate.
The implementation of a national mask mandate. Now, later on, he talked about, not shutting down the economy, not mandating a lockdown, because he's a science guy, right? With all the science. But if the science says that you need to shut down the economy, why wouldn't you do that if you're following the science? So how could you rule that out? It's the same thing when you say, I'm going to do a national mask mandate. In other words, they're saying, if the science tells me that I need to do something, if I interpret the science as saying that I need to do something, then I will require it. But I love the way they skirt around that. Why not just say that that's what you intend to do? And then people can deal with that. You may agree with it, you may not agree with it, but at least tell me what it is that you really want to do. Let's continue.
It's not a political statement. It's a patriotic duty.
It's not a political statement. Patriotic duty. Okay. Tell me more.
Deal with problems, most of which have no ideological basis for disagreement.
Okay. So going back to where we started in this video, he says that we first he says uses the word mandate, and he says to deal with these problems. He's saying that it's a duty, and most of them have no ideological basis. Let's stop on that word right there, ideological. Since he used that word, people are being led to believe that there are two ideologies. You have conservative ideology, liberal ideology, or you have a Republican ideology or Democrat ideology, or you have a fear-based ideology, or you have a freedom-based ideology. They make it seem like there's a coin. There's two sides to that coin. There's two ideologies at play, and they're at war with each other. But nobody mentions the third and most important, which is the ideology that concerns the rights and freedoms of an American citizen. What if I understand where both sides are coming from of that debate, but I believe, I know, because it is the truth that the Constitution gives me certain rights and freedoms that should not be abridged. What if, whatever the science tells you, and that science can be 100% correct, what if that doesn't trump my individual rights and freedoms? I find that very interesting. And I find it even more interesting that no one is making that the cornerstone of their argument. You should find that interesting too. Basically, what he's saying is that whatever the science tells them that needs to happen is going to happen. So going back to that first point about the vaccinations and the 330 million, the reason I came to that conclusion, the reason I can hear what's really being said is the science says that everyone needs to be vaccinated. Or the science is quoted as saying that. Whatever type of science that is, that's a whole entirely different conversation. But everyone needs to get the vaccine. He's already come to that conclusion because he thinks that we need 330 million doses of the vaccine, and those doses need to be in the arm of every American citizen. That's what I gathered from it. Thought I'd point that out. Love to hear your thoughts on that. Maybe you think differently than I do. Maybe I'm completely off base. Maybe I'm crazy. If I'm crazy, let me know that too. I need to know I'm crazy. That's going to help me out moving forward in the future, moving forward in my life. Once I know I'm crazy, I can start to do something about that. In any case, let me know. See you guys on the next video. Take care. Peace.